All right, guys, welcome. Final session, home stretch, session number 5 or 4. It depends on if you were there on the last session, which we just did a bonus session where we just chewed the fat, if you like. No, I'm kidding. Now, we did question and answers. So those of you who came to yesterday's session, we just got to chat and talk about the process and kind of digress into things outside of intuition and the feeling as well. So that was good to do. But today, I would like to give you this final piece, which is the most simplest piece, and that is why you don't trust yourself. So, how are you going to follow your feeling? How are you going to follow the intuition if you don't trust yourself? You're not going to be. You're not going to be able to follow your intuition, follow the feeling if you don't trust yourself. So it is the simplest, but it's very, very important. I kind of saved this for the last one. The most important, obviously, as I keep harping on about it, is self-actualization. So we spoke about. Let's just review this really quickly. We spoke about the 3 hurdles, the 3 elements that are going to basically stop you from following your intuition. Too much noise, not enough space, and you don't trust yourself. Okay? So too much noise, I spoke to you guys about that, right? Too much noise, not enough space. I know I've said too much noise is first. I put that as first only because it's most relatable. But from a priority point of view, the not enough space, it's what consumes. I feel is the most important. So if I could just switch that and say, number 1, not enough space. Number 2, too much noise. Now the too much noise is things that I've covered over the last few sessions, right? Which was there's too much noise because it's kind of twofold. There's too much noise because you don't have enough space. There's too much noise because there's a lot of baggage you're holding on to. We discussed what the baggage was. Baggage was what? It started off as a judgment, but then it became something concrete, something permanent. It became a pattern, and it just became a way of living. You just thought that's the way it is. So I talked to you guys about reclaiming power. I wonder how that's going for you. I mean, if you listen to the content in reclaiming power, it makes sense. It actually makes sense, right? So there's the hack, if you like, the tool that you could use to reclaim power. The idea of self-awareness or not enough space. Remember, not enough space. So the number 2, too much noise. I've given you a tool to quieten the noise. Okay. I've also given you the tool for pondering, posing the question, and again, these are things that I've used to realize some of the things that I've realized, and I use it. I've just used it yesterday. In a business venture that is kind of coming together at this point in my life. Just this is the stuff I use. It's none of it. I'm not forcing any of it. I move forward in my life by always asking the question, right? I ask the question by what is it that I want? What is it that I feel? Like by posing the question. So within myself, I ask the question that I don't look for the answer for, right? And then outside of myself, in my story, I always ask the question. Like if I feel to contact this person, right, about a business opportunity, about some kind of proposal, I ask the question. I'm not looking for the answer. I'm not looking for him to manipulate or influence to get the answer that I want. I just ask the question. I don't know if that makes sense. I move forward in life. I ask the question, right? Would I love to live here? Yeah, right. Is this a business opportunity that I want to do? Right. I just ask the question. Hey, I got a good idea. What's a good idea? I think if I can put this business and put them as a joint venture, this would be something amazing. It's a great idea. So then guess what I do? I pick up the phone, I ask the question. Who do I ask the question from? Someone who I want to do the joint venture with. This is real stuff like yesterday and last week. This is stuff that I'm doing right now. And I teach my staff that it's just ask the question. Don't be attached. Worst case, the person's not interested. It's not about them being interested or not. It's about you asking the question. So you continuously move forward in life in the external by asking the question. Asking the question. If that's what you feel to do, right? If you have an idea, you ask the question. You follow the feeling, but you ask the question. And then internally, you pose the question. Right? Pose the question. And again, those are all techniques I'm just kind of revisiting. And look, I guess I'm revisiting because it's current, is what I'm experiencing right now. I'm doing deals. I'm doing, joint ventures. These are the things that are happening. And it's just ideas that are dropped in. But if I never asked the question, right? If I never acted on it, and I say this because sometimes people can tap into their feeling, but they can't act it. So one thing is to tap in, and that's where it becomes woo-woo. Yeah, but you're going to pick up the phone? Well, no, I don't want to. I don't want to oppose. I don't know. Why not? Well, what if they say no? Ask the question. The idea wouldn't have come to you. An idea is again, it's intuitive. The idea is that comes to you. I'm not talking about an idea that you sit there and go, I need to make more money. I'm in this dire situation. How can I fix, improve, or change this? How can I force this or manipulate this? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about, you're moving along in life. You're smelling the flowers, if you like, walking down your path, experiencing your journey, and then you're like, oh, what? I got this idea. What do you think an idea is? Again, there's two types of ideas. There's an idea that comes from form. And when I say from form, it doesn't come from form, it comes from the formless, but it has reference points to the form. Intuitive idea. Right? It's like, you know what? For example, let me give you an example. Let me break this down. Like, this is something that I just did the other week. I thought to myself, I take a lot of people flying, aerobatic joy flights. That's what I do, right? That's one of my businesses. And a lot of the times when we're doing a passenger brief, we ask them, have you ever been in a light aircraft before? And almost, 8, 9 out of 10 will say, yeah, I've done skydiving. So, I've been hearing this all my entire pilot life, if you like. Everyone's done skydiving who comes and does aerobatic flights. Then an idea pops up. Well, maybe I should do a joint venture with the skydiving company. Now, that idea has come from a reference point. What's a reference point? People keep telling me I've done skydiving, right? Then I'm like, I've got to ask the question, right? I pick up the phone. I send an email. I don't get a response. I call someone else and go, hey, I didn't get a response to the person you referred me to. They email me back. We're very interested. This is a great idea. Imagine someone gets to go skydiving, they come down and then they go for an aerobatic flight. The ultimate adrenaline package. That idea has a reference point. It's got, it's got legs that has a reference point. It came from the story. It came from, you put 2 and 2 together and you went, But it's still an intuitive idea. But my friends, sometimes an idea comes that's completely from the nothingness, from the formless, and that is the feeling. And those ideas are things that, if someone has and we're talking about ideas and entrepreneurship now, right? We've changed gears here. But those ideas are like someone comes out with Apple phone. Someone comes out with something brand new. I used to sell mobile phones. My background my second business was mobile phone store. And back when I was selling mobile phones, it was always in the smaller the better. You know, you remember Ericsson 768s and all the Nokia. It was all about size and having, you know, I don't know, maybe some of you are too young to remember, but you know, it was all about getting it. And then comes Apple with this brick, going back to the brick, but it's a complete different thing. It's a computer, right? Oh, geez, that's not going to work. It's going the opposite way. Do you know what I mean? Like an idea, some of the ideas that come from the feeling, from the nothingness, you can't go and you need to completely trust the feeling. There is no reason. It's very difficult to find reference points. And if you knew Steve Jobs, which I didn't, but from what I read about him, he was very much inclined this way. Very intuitive, about following the feeling. Went to India, soul searching for what's my purpose? What am I here on this earth for? Asking the questions. Right? You look at Musk right now. He wants to go and fly to Mars. Like that's the unknown. That doesn't come from, that's like huge. But it takes people who have the willingness and the ability to follow the feeling to bring something completely new into this world. You know, women are equal to men. That was the unknown. No one would say that 50 years ago. Same-sex marriage, like the stuff that's coming out right now. And it takes someone, with the courage to follow the feeling and speak up. And then it starts, it's initiated. Right? That's the feeling. The feeling is unknown. It comes from the unknown. As I've shared with you already, the feeling is love. Love doesn't have any reason. You will reflect and look back and go, wow, if I didn't do that, this wouldn't have happened. Therefore, that's why I must have did it. But in the moment the feeling presents itself, there's no reason. So if you look for a reason, you will fail to follow the feeling. Which brings me to this point. The reason why people don't trust themselves is 2 points. And I'm talking about trusting themselves in following the feeling or following the intuition or asking the question. Ask the question. Pose the question. Look at yourself. Create time for yourself to sit and ponder. I've been working with clients all around the world, and this just one thing, teaching them how to ponder. I spoke to a client of mine today who I bumped into at the gym, and he's just telling me he's just loving pondering. And he's a creative guy, so he really gets it too. And he's just like, the pondering that I'm doing right now, the stuff, the realizations I didn't know that was just all in me. So, there's 2 reasons why you fail to follow. 2 reasons why you fail to trust yourself. 2 points. And again, you fail to trust yourself when it comes to following your feeling or following your intuition. Guys, please don't be too concerned if you're still a little bit confused about the intuition and the feeling. Okay? I've dropped the seed, right? No one talks about this. I've heard no one in this world talk about the difference between intuition and the feeling, right? So I understand you might be confused, but just let that be there, all right? Intuition, you'll relate to much more. The feeling is just the unknown. It comes from the unknown. But I'm going to keep talking about it because you might revisit these videos sometime and go, oh, wow, yeah, now I got that point, right? So the 2 reasons why people fail when it comes to trusting themselves, right? Trusting themselves in following their intuition or trusting themselves in following the feeling. Number one is that the intuition or the feeling, let's start with that one, has no logic. If it has no reason, it has no logic. The feeling comes from the nothingness, the emptiness. The emptiness where is the fullness. The emptiness, what I'm describing there is infinity. What I'm describing there is love. So you can't find any, you can't question the reason of why or how this is going to happen. Like, I'm working on a really big deal at the moment in aviation, and it's a big deal for us, right? But I never question why or how. All I just want, it all started with, oh, I would love to do this. Oh, I would love that aircraft. That I would really love to be involved with that. I don't then look for how or why. An idea drops in. And I'm like, surely someone's thought of that. I ask the question. I contact the company. I ask the question about something, which I won't go into right now. They come back and go, we think you're the perfect fit for this. No one in Australia is doing that. Really? Still, my mind can now go into the how. I catch myself. I get a little bit of, whoa, wow, this is great. This is a great opportunity. And then my mind can go into how, because it's still going to be, there's going to be some things involved. This is what I do to my mind. If you ever see me walking in the street or I'm in a lift and I start going, shh, and you're like, there was no noise. I'm like, yeah, there was in my head. Shh. I actually shush myself. There is no logic. So when someone is looking to validate, justify their decision, defined or backed by logic, they fail. Quite simple. Right? Now, I've spoken about this already, and I've said that even if you do find logic, because you can find logic, right? The moment you find the logical reason of why you're doing this idea, why you feel to do this, what's happening there? You are no longer following the feeling, you are now following what? The fabricated feeling. Fabricated means feels the same, but it's not. Because you make it feel the same. Yep, but now you have, I can see the steps in front of me. I feel more comfortable now. That's it. Because there's no logic in it. Right? Remember, logic is for other things, right? The decisions that you're making, decisions of the heart. When it comes to making decisions of the heart or following the feeling, decide and look at why you decided later. Decide to follow the feeling and think about it later. That's my rule of thumb. If I feel to do something, I feel and in the moment when you feel to do something, the possibilities of that is right there, but it's not there in a story or in a plan or in a step-by-step ingredient to follow. The certainty is in the feeling. I decide to say yes to the feeling, and then I can think about it later. Where most people will go, well, let me think about that. Sorry, you've just disconnected from the feeling. Why? Well, why did I disconnect from the feeling? You went to logic. There is no logic in it. I've spoke about this many times. Zero, nil, nada, zilch, sifr, as we say in Farsi. No logic. That's the number one reason. Okay? Again, now, well, what do I do about that, Amir? Well, again, as you expand your awareness, the noise that says, what about the logic? The noise that says, but why, but how, becomes quieter. I gave you this reference point. I believe on the first day or the second session, I talked about, imagine being at the beach with big waves crashing, and all you can hear is the sound of the waves crashing. And then sometimes you hear this little dog that's running across the beach, and you hear this little yelp, 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 yelp. But this dog's voice or sound is being drowned out by the waves crashing. That's what it feels like. That's the perfect reference point for me to give to you when you expand your space. The sound of the ocean, the sound of the waves crashing is your feeling. The sound of the dog yapping away is, what about if this happens? What about what? You should know why we're doing this. Why the fuck are we doing this? How is it going to work? What if it fails? That's the little dog. But you're like, what's that sound? Is that, oh, someone's left a dog out there and it's just yapping. But you can easily tune back out away from it by just simply listening to the sounds of the ocean, sounds of the waves crashing. As you expand your space, your self-awareness, as you deepen your connection with yourself, your consciousness, as you expand your consciousness, the sound of the yelping becomes small and insignificant. Doesn't go away. Doesn't go away. For as long as you're in this body, there will be a thing called the ego, and it will be yelping the whole way. You know what it's like for most people? For most people, they are sitting at a fence, and the little yelping is actually a guard dog, a German Shepherd, or something, a beast of a guard dog going rawr, and they're just like, holy shit, no, I can't follow that feeling. That's what it's like for most people. Why? Why is it like that? Their space is limited. When your space is limited, that voice, the dog is no longer a little chihuahua running on the beach. It's a guard dog, and it's yelping, and you're jumping out of your skin. I could never follow that feeling. Like, oh my God, I did the Intuitive Warrior Challenge, and I definitely clear. I got a feeling now, but I could never follow that feeling. Space is limited. Do you think I've made myself very clear how important self-actualization or your work on yourself, self-realization is? I'm trying to drive that home. It's what it's about. Okay? So the number 2 reason why you don't trust yourself. Do you want to know what the number 2 reason is? Okay, so number 1 is very simple. Number 1 is no logic. The answer to no logic is you need to have more space. The answer to more space is more work on yourself, self-realization. Okay? Number 2 is very different and it's very simple. I talk about this in my TCM program, which is the Think, Create, Manifest program. And we actually do a challenge around it. Today, I'm not going to do a challenge. I'm just going to talk to you about it. I call this the monkey. The monkey sitting on your shoulder. We all have a monkey that's sitting on our shoulder, and it becomes like a muscle. Becomes like a muscle memory, which then creates your state of mind, your mindset, your perception, how you see things, right? Your mindset is how you do things autopilot, You just like, this is your mindset. You don't even have to think about it. You just do it. Someone goes, how did you do it? And the only person who says, how did you do it? Or how do you keep fucking up is even a mindset. Why do you keep fucking up? I don't understand. But you don't have their mindset. How does it, everything you touch turns into gold? You just don't have their mindset. So the mindset is like a muscle of how you see things. That's your mindset, right? Now the mindset is built by this monkey. So imagine there's a monkey. I just call it like a monkey because it's like monkey see, monkey do kind of thing, right? The monkey sits on your shoulder and it observes mainly 2 things. What you say, what you do. Because monkey likes to, what's the monkey do? Monkey see, monkey do, right? This is where my analogies come from. The monkey only watches what you say and what you do. Okay? So when you tell yourself, especially when you have a feeling, because in the moment you have a feeling, it's kind of like you feel the love and the connection and the certainty and the possibilities within that feeling. So you're like, yes, I'm gonna do this. What a great business opportunity. I'm gonna marry this person. I'm gonna have children. Whatever it is, you have this feeling. You go, I'm gonna do it. And because in the moment there's the possibilities. You can sense it. You're connected to it. Then you go, okay, I'm gonna do it. And rather than making a decision to follow the feeling, you go back to your head and go, how are we going to do it? How would this happen? And then you start to think to yourself, this is not even possible, because you've now disconnected from the possibility. You've disconnected from the feeling. This is not even possible. What was I thinking? I must have had just a moment of just losing myself there. I can't do this. It's not the right time to do this. I don't have money. It's not possible. I'm too old. I'm too young. Right? Monkey's watching. You said you're going to do it, but your action was, I can't. Monkey keeps watching. I feel to do this and Or I don't feel to do this. I don't feel to go out with my friends tonight. I really don't want to be at that function. I don't want to go. I'm not going. They ring you. Come on, we need you there. You got to be at the function. You're like, oh, okay. Your action is opposing what you said you're going to do. You said you didn't feel to be at the function, but you went. Monkey watches. What you say, what you do doesn't match. So, that continues continuously in your life, and it can be the opposite effect. I say I'm going to go to the gym at 6 in the morning, and you know what? I get up in the morning, I don't feel to go, because I'm thinking about the effort, the result, and I'm like, I don't know, I feel like, this morning I had one of those mornings. I was up watching the football till 11 o'clock at night. I usually go to bed at 8:30, 9 o'clock, right? Because I'm a big believer in good sleep, and I get up to go to the gym 5:30, for a 6 o'clock session at the gym every morning. This morning I was like, I had one because I went to bed at 11. I'm not used to that. I wonder if I can snooze. It's just like, no. Why? Because my monkey says, that's not like you. Because you do what you say you're going to do. It becomes autopilot. That's not what's happening. My monkey's not talking. The muscle just goes, now we're going. Why doesn't that muscle goes, yeah, we're going? Because that's the thing. You can use your monkey to strengthen or to weaken. If you say you're going to do something and you do it, you strengthen it, right? Why is this important? Why am I having this conversation with you? It's quite simple, right? Because when it comes to following the feeling, especially when there's no logic, when it comes to following your intuition, especially when you don't know how yet, okay? You think you're going to be strong enough to stick to that decision? If your muscle memory is like, yeah, Shani, you don't do, you say you do, you say you want to do that, but you don't. I'm just using it as an example, Shani. I mean, I probably shouldn't have used the name, sorry. That wasn't addressed to Shani, by the way, guys. That was just the first name that popped up. You don't do that. You get up in the morning. I could have got up in this morning and go, you deserve a break. You've gone to the gym every day this week. Yeah, but did I book in? I scheduled in. I got trainer booked in. That means I said I was going to go. Do you know what I mean? How are you going to follow your feeling and use your intuition? This is the practical method of learning to trust yourself again. Guys, my mum once gave me a bit of a serve because I said, I remember being in I can't remember the story exactly, but it was something to do with, we had an event on, I was speaking at the event, and I told my team, guys, this event, I want everyone to wear a suit. I want to be very professional, and, that's the way I feel to do it. So, and come that day, I rock up, And I think I told my mum for some reason, and I don't remember the exact story, but my mum saw me rock up and I wore a t-shirt and jeans, right? And she said, I thought you said you were going to wear a suit, and you told your team that. I was like, yeah, but, I just decided not to. She goes, never do that. If you say you're going to do it, do it. Now, that's all she said. But I learned from that moving forward, because monkey's watching. Monkey see, monkey do. Monkey see that you say you're going to do it and you do it. It becomes a stronger mindset. It becomes a mindset that, yes, you can. My daughter all the time at the moment, she's only 2. Every time she just keeps saying, I can't. It's her favorite new thing. I'm like, I can't. You just do this, Olivia. Just do. I can't. That's all. Okay, stop. No, you can. Just say you can, and then you work out how you can later. Don't worry about. Do not say I can't. We don't say that in this family. You say I can, and even though you don't know how you can yet, you can work that out later. I'm teaching her now from the age of 2. Right? So, and that's why I'm giving you this example because it's what happens. People have different reference point, and you look at someone just like, wow, look, they're just so motivated. They just, One of my latest one is, I'm very weak when it comes to nighttime. After 6, 7 o'clock, I keep snacking. And the amazing thing is, I'm not even hungry. I'm not even hungry, but I can feel myself itching to get into something. I mean, I'll eat something healthy. Just give me an apple, I don't care, some nuts, but I'm not even hungry, right? It's a massive weakness of mine, right? And recently I was like, okay, this is a weakness and I want to nail it. From now on, after 6:30 at night, I will not eat anything besides water, right? I might have a day off here or there. Okay, that's fine. We end up going out for dinner or something. All right, fine. Then I go back to, to that routine. Listen, guys, in the last, hasn't even been 12 months. Yeah, no, it has been more than 12. In the last 12 months, I've lost 20 kilos. Some of you have probably seen my older videos that pop up on Instagram. You're like, is that him? 20 kilos. That's quite a lot, right? And at the same time, I've put on a lot of muscle and I've redefined my body, right? And again, it came out of a challenge that I was doing with one of my groups, right? It was about saying what you're going to do, and for me, it was like, I'm going to start the gym. I won't go into that. The point is not the 20 kilos that I lost, which, by the way, I did all intuitively. I could do a whole program about that, but we don't have the time for that right now. But what I was going to say to you is that my accomplishment to not eat after 6:30 to me is a far greater accomplishment than me just losing 20 kilos. That's how much of a discomfort or hurdle it was for me, right? But what drove me to do it is because I knew there's something controlling me. And it's just this little voice, oh, what can I eat? Especially if I'm watching TV. Oh, can I have some popcorn? It's just a weakness of mine. And I just decided to nail it. But once I decide that I'm going to nail this, and I say to myself, I'm not going to eat after 6:30 anymore, guess what, guys? I've got a very good monkey. I've got a very good mindset, right? If I then start to break that and to not and was not able to follow what I felt to do, which is not to eat after 6:30, monkey watches. And it undoes a lot of the other great things that the monkey's been observing. Does that make sense? Is that clear? It's a very simple one. You say something. Again, when I say you say something on your feeling. I know sometimes you say, that's it, I'm never going to do this, or I'm never going to speak to you again, right? And then you go, oh, monkey's watching. I better never speak to this person. Now, that wasn't your feeling. That was your emotional reaction. I'm talking about a feeling. Just be very clear here. When you feel to do something and you then say, I am going to do it, you better do it, because Monk is watching. I'm talking about a feeling. I'm not just talking about your normal, reactions, and then you're like, oh my God, I told myself I would never talk to that person, that I just can't talk to them anymore. And it was not even a feeling, it was just an emotional reaction. Does that make sense? Are we clear on that? They're the two top reasons why people fail to trust themselves and therefore fail to back themselves. All right? The feeling doesn't have logic. Don't look for it. Your intuition will guide you, and it's your GPS, but sometimes you don't know the how yet. Don't look, pose the question how, don't look for the how. Because most probably the how that you're going to find is you forcing, manipulating, squeezing, making it happen rather than allowing it to happen. Very, very different game, guys. Very, very different game. All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you being part of this. It's been a joy. I just wish you strength and love, within your heart to be able to follow what you feel to do. Yeah? Awesome.
Thank you, Amir. This
Thank
was
you.
fantastic.
Thanks very much. And as I like to say, no mistakes. It's a
Bye, Jamie. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, Amir. Bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye. Good night. Good morning.